All right, let's get right into it. We need to talk about the internet because I guarantee what you think it is and what it actually is are two totally different things.
I mean, we all say it, don't we? Just save it to the cloud. I'm streaming this from the cloud. It sounds so ethereal and weightless, like our data is just magically floating around in the atmosphere. But what if I told you that's one of the biggest misconceptions of our time?
Because it's not up there, it's down here. The simple truth is that over 95% of all international data, everything from your emails and video calls to global financial markets and military communications, is racing through cables lying on the cold, dark, silent floor of the ocean. The cloud isn't in the sky, it's underwater.
So for the next few minutes, we're going to dive deep into this hidden world. And to start, let's just try to wrap our heads around the incredible scale of this invisible network that, and this is no exaggeration, our entire world now runs on.
First, just think about the sheer length. We are talking about 1.2 million kilometers of fiber optic cable. To give you some perspective, you could wrap that around the Earth's equator almost 30 times. It's an absolutely staggering amount of infrastructure.
And this isn't just one long wire, of course. It's a complex web of more than 475 different cable systems, all crisscrossing the globe, connecting continents. Every single one of them is a piece of cutting-edge technology engineered to survive for decades in one of the most hostile environments on our planet.
Now, why does this all matter so much? Well, follow the money. Every single day, these unassuming cables carry over $10 trillion in financial transactions. $10 trillion a day. If this system gets disrupted, it's not just that your favorite show starts to buffer, the entire global economy could literally freeze in its tracks.
So, who built this incredible thing? Well, for most of history, the answer was very, very carefully and very, very slowly. For over a century, this was a world built by committees and governments.
It all started way back in 1856 with the first attempt to lay a telegraph cable across the Atlantic. For the next 100 years or so, it was a game played by governments and massive national telecom companies. Kind of like a public utility, like the power grid. But then, the 1990s happened, and deregulation blew the doors wide open for private companies.
This kicked off the era of the consortium. See, building one of these cables costs a fortune, hundreds of millions of dollars. So, different telecom companies from around the world would team up, pool their money, and build it together. It was collaborative, sure, but it was also painfully bureaucratic, a world built by committee. But that world is now ancient history.
Because over the last decade, something absolutely fundamental has changed. A seismic shift in who actually owns and controls these digital arteries of our planet. The age of the committee is over, and the age of the new cable barons has begun.
And what's wild is just how fast this happened. Just look at this chart. This wasn't some slow, gradual change. Companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft went from being customers who just rented space on the cables to becoming the landlords who own the whole system. They're building their own private networks at an absolutely explosive pace. And you can see Google is way out in front with a piece of 14 different cables.
Just let this number sink in for a second. Over 70%. That's how much of the market is now dominated by these tech giants. It's a complete remaking of the internet's physical layer, from a distributed, shared system to one where a tiny handful of American tech companies call the shots.
And here's the key difference in their strategy. The old consortiums, they were building shared, public highways for everyone's data. These new proprietary cables, think of them as private express lanes. They are built by one company for one primary reason, to connect that company's own massive data centers to each other across the globe. Now, you can probably guess that this incredible consolidation of power hasn't gone unnoticed. It is setting off massive alarm bells in governments around the world, and it's sparking fears of a new kind of Cold War, one being fought silently, invisibly, on the bottom of the ocean.
And this isn't just speculation. This is a direct quote from a letter the U.S. Congress sent to the CEOs of these tech companies. They're saying it loud and clear. We see these cables as a matter of national security, and we are deeply worried they could become a backdoor for our adversaries.
And the threats they're worried about are straight out of a spy thriller. We're talking about everything from sneaking malicious hardware into the cables during manufacturing to literally tapping the fiber optic line and siphoning off data. You could hack into the landing stations on the coast that manage the cable, or of course, the most blunt approach, just find it and cut it. You could even hijack internet traffic and reroute it through your own country for surveillance.
And it's not just a hypothetical threat. Security experts point out that countries like China and Russia are aggressively using state-backed companies to get into the cable laying and repair business. This gives them a foothold and potential control over strategic choke points in the global data flow, creating what many in the U.S. government see as a massive intelligence vulnerability.
So, after all that, what's the bottom line for you and me? For the internet we actually use every day? Well, it means we're living in a brand new world. A world with a much more centralized internet, where the question of who truly controls the off switch is more urgent than ever.
Take one last look at this. It really says it all. Just 4 American companies, Google, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon, now own or lease around half of the world's total undersea data capacity. 4 companies. That is a concentration of power over our planet's communications infrastructure that is simply unprecedented in human history. And don't forget, the whole purpose of this new infrastructure is different. The old internet was built to connect people to people. These new superhighways are built to connect corporate data centers to other corporate data centers. This hardwires the dominance of big tech into the very fabric of the internet, making it that much harder for any real competition to ever challenge them.
So we have to ask the question, as a tiny handful of private corporations seize control of the physical plumbing of the internet, what does that mean for its future? For a free and open web? For our security? Who really owns the internet now? That's the question we all need to be asking.
So while markets rise and fall, systems like this quietly move billions behind the scenes, hidden from the public, hidden from scrutiny, and sometimes hidden from the law itself. Because in global finance, the most powerful forces are rarely the most visible. And this is just one of the systems used by the unseen elite.